Imagine that Jesus was a teacher of a course, like you and I have taken courses in college or even in high school. A teacher spends enormous amount of time with us, going through the subject matter, explaining to us some difficult concepts, relating the subject matter to other things in its proper context. Then comes a time, almost towards the end of that semester, that there is what is called a final exam. I know some of us have dreaded that. But yet, you cannot pass the course and move beyond unless you pass the test, unless you finish the exam, unless the teacher knows that you have paid attention, that you have gained proper understanding of whatever the subject matter is, you cannot move forward. That is somewhat like what the situation is here today. The disciples have spent a good amount of time with Jesus. They went up and down the length and breadth of the Holy Land, from south in Judea, Jerusalem, to north in Galilee, Capernaum, Nazareth, Cana, Bethsaida. I mean, all of these places. And Jesus does so many miracles. We heard about some of them recently. Stilling the storm, driving the demons out, teaching them the Sermon on the Mount, all of that. But this day, when Jesus says to the disciples, "Come, let's go to Caesarea Philippi," they must have said, "Oh my goodness, what are you saying, Jesus? Why in the world are we leaving Galilee? You've had such success over here. Or Samaria, you did some wonderful things there too, reaching to that woman at the well, for example. And you did miracle after miracle in Jerusalem and in Bethany and in Galilee and so on and so forth. But why are we going now to Caesarea Philippi? It's outside the borders. As far as I know, this is the first time that Jesus ever does this. Sometimes the teacher does some things that we may not quite understand. Have you ever been on a field trip when you were in school? I have, many times. And sometimes those field trips were quite exciting. When the teacher said, "Next week, we are going to so-and-so place to see so-and-so thing or such and such a thing. We're going to do this, that, and this." It's an exciting time. You kind of look forward to that trip, whether it's Washington, D.C., or the Botanical Gardens in New York City, or south somewhere on the beach, wherever it is. Your imagination gets the better of you, and you cannot wait to go on that field trip. Not so over here. Why have you chosen to take us to Caesarea Philippi? Don't you know, Jesus? That is one of the worst places on planet Earth. Now, we are not talking about Caesarea Maritima. That's a different Caesarea. This is not that. That's a good place. I've been there many times. It's a wonderful place. But this one is Caesarea Philippi, outside the boundaries of Palestine. It's almost bordering on Golan Heights, if you know, modern Syria. Mount Hermon is nearby. The River Jordan takes its birth in this area and flows 25, 30 miles down to the Sea of Galilee. Jews wouldn't go there because it was a place of demon worship. Started in the days of the prophets like Jeremiah, where this particular area was designated as a sacred place for Baal. You hear a lot about false god, Baal. Jezebel, for example, and King Ahab. You have stories about that. Baal worship was anathema to the people of God, Israel. Why, Jesus, are we going to this place of Baal worship? Now, of course, by the time Jesus and his disciples were around, Baal worship was really technically out, because when the Greeks came over, Alexander and his people, they wiped out Baal, but instead they replaced it with another false god called Pan. Now, you probably have seen pictures of Pan, half goat, half man. A deity that the Greeks loved to honor because he was considered the god of fertility, the God who blesses us with good crops, the God who provides the sustenance of our daily needs, a God who blesses us with children, posterity. So, of course, they gave a lot of importance to this place called Caesarea Philippi because of Pan. A lot of things happened, behaviors, all kinds of immorality was practiced, child sacrifice included. And then come the next power called the Romans. Now, when the Romans came, they also did something. They wanted to, make something about this place. And so they installed Caesar as the god. That's why the place is termed Caesarea Philippi. The one who built that was the son of Herod, whose name was Philip. So you know how it is. People want to attach their name to another big name. And so here is Caesar and here is Philip, a local authority and a national authority, all combined together. Caesarea Philippi. But Jesus, why go there? We're not into politics. We are not into political affiliations and whatnot. By now, Caesarea Philippi was an urban center. It was the place to be if you want to be known as somebody or something. Your name would be in the lights, if you will, a la carte, Las Vegas. But why go there? We are a church. Pastor, don't you have any other place other than Las Vegas to go for a spiritual retreat? Jesus says, no, this is the place we want to be. And the disciples don't get it. I mean, I probably wouldn't get it if I was there myself. There was a long time ago when I was studying at Princeton Seminary, they organized a bus tour to 42nd Street in New York. Well, it was part of the assignment, so we all had to go. And the sights that I saw and the sounds that I heard, I said, my goodness, why on earth are we here? We are seminarians. We are pastors. This is not the right place to be and experience this horrible sights and sounds of 42nd Street. Now it's all cleaned up. Back in 1980, 81, it wasn't so. Why are we going to Caesarea Philippi? And Jesus says, just come. Let's go there. We have never been there, so let's go. And so he takes them there, and what do they see? They see this rock formation, a huge mountain, kind of an area, a cliff where gods were installed in the niches in the wall. False gods, of course, nevertheless. But this is the place to go to for a lot of people to enjoy their time. Dancing, drinking, carousing, and all of that. And so Jesus brings them over to this literally it was called the gates of hell. It wasn't just a made-up phrase. Jesus is taking them to a place called the gates of hell, because that is what people called it. So back then, Pan would go down into the cave that was right there at the bottom of the hill, and there was a spring, the same spring that brings water into Jordan. And he would go there for the winter and stay there for all the winter months, and then he would come up in spring and bring new life. And they called it the gates of hell because for those winter months, Pan would actually enter into hell. The gates of hell. So Jesus is giving them a visual and a visceral experience of what it means to be at the center of demon worship, the stronghold of the devil himself. Sometimes I think we have this false notion that we as Christians or we as believers should distance ourselves from the darkness of this world, should not become part of it, should not really ever get too comfortable with this. And then we go to the other extent of completely insulating ourselves, isolating ourselves, going into this retreat centers or whatever, and live like hermits, disengaged from the world. And Jesus is saying, don't do that. This world is not the devil's. This world was created by God for good reason. Inherit the earth. Glorify God, because God created this beautiful earth. No spot on earth belongs to the devil. It belongs to God. So if you ever think of a place and say, that is God-forsaken, I'm not going there, don't do that. There is no such place. It may have been taken over by the devil for a period of time, for whatever reason God allowed that. Sodom and Gomorrah, for example. No, don't disengage from the world. Because God so loved the world and all the people of it that he gave his only begotten Son, not just for the good people, not just for the righteous ones, not just for the ones who worship him, not just for the ones who fear him and obey him, but for the whole world, including the citizens of Caesarea Philippi, including the citizens of whatever city you want to name in your own mind. God so loved the people of that town, the people of that city, the people of that country, that he gave his only Son, Jesus. And Jesus is trying to ingrain this message into the minds of his disciples, brings them over there to the very center of demonic power. And he speaks to it. Before that, he asked the question, well, what do people say that I am? Who do people say I am? And they say, some say you're a prophet, you're John the Baptist, or you're prophet Jeremiah, or, Elijah. The culture has its own understanding of who Jesus is. I don't have to remind you that. I was almost like a teenager when that thing came, Jesus Christ Superstar. I'm sure you know that, Jesus Christ Superstar. In that there is a phrase, one of the songs, Jesus Christ Superstar. Who are you? And what have you done? Don't you know who Jesus Christ is? And don't you know what he did? That you have to produce a musical? Well, yes, the world has its own spin on Jesus. The Jews had their own spin on Jesus. You know that. The Romans had their own spin on Jesus. The world today has its own spin on Jesus. Oh, he was a good man. He was a great teacher. He was a wonderful rabbi who did a lot of good things. Really? That's it? I was sharing earlier in the previous church service that I had a professor in seminary who wrote a book on perfect health. What is a perfect health? Health, good health, wellness, well-being. And he had these 6 categories or 6 stages of wellness and health. And you go on from here to here. And then he had some examples of people like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther Jr. and some other great people. I'm sure Mother Teresa was in there. And they all had different stages, 3, 4, 5, He had 6 stages, and he put Jesus in stage number 5. That's what happens. When you try to understand Jesus with your own mind, with your own, measurements, he won't reach number 6. Maybe 4, or maybe 5, if you want to be generous. But no, my friends, if you really have the understanding of who Jesus is, there is no scale, actually. He is personification of goodness and wellness. You can measure Jesus and say, oh, you're at stage 5. That means he still has growth. He still has to grow a little bit more, like you and I. I disagreed with that professor and that book. Because in my understanding, Jesus cannot be measured by humans, cannot be evaluated by human minds. So when Peter answers the question, who do you say that I am? And he says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are the Messiah. Verse 16. Jesus immediately says to him, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, because this is not revealed to you by flesh and blood, not seminary, Princeton, or Harvard. I don't care. This is not revealed to you by professors and theologians, not flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. Unless God gives the understanding, unless God opens our minds to see who Jesus is, there is no other description, no other statement that comes anywhere close to the statement, the affirmation of Peter. You are the Christ. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. Now, he didn't go to any seminary. He didn't go to any rabbinic school. He was a fisherman all his life, and yet he had the deepest and most profound understanding of Jesus, and that is given to him by God, the Father. Unless you have that, there is no use trying to understand who Jesus is. That's why I think the world is still struggling. There are these Jesus seminars going around the world. Who is Jesus? Who is Jesus? What is this Jesus thing all about? Well, unless God gives you that understanding, my friend, you can spend all your life trying to figure out Jesus. You will not. I think that is the essence of what Jesus is saying. But let me get to the final point on this. And then when Jesus commends Peter for his affirmation, he says to him, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. Flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father. And I'm telling you, you are Peter. You are Peter, meaning you are a pebble. The word in Greek there is you're a little stone. He is not building the church on this pebble. He goes on to say, you are this small rock, but on this rock, and I'm pretty sure Jesus is saying, look at this rock at the back this mountain of a rock. And on this rock, I will build my church. I'm going to claim this gates of hell as mine. As mine. These gates of hell will not prevail against the church. I will build my church. on this rock, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. So, my friend, I don't know what a gate of hell is for you. I don't know. You know. Whatever you're coming up against may seem to you like this is the gate of hell itself that I'm facing. But take heart that this will not overtake you. This will not overpower you, because Christ has defeated all the darkness of this world, all the emptiness of this world, all the brokenness of this world. And he has in him put everything together. He is Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. May God continue to add his blessing, his understanding to your hearts and your minds. Amen.